Hello there, this is Teacher Wayne, and I'm just continuing my mini video series on making a zombie shoot 'em up game. So I'm just going to press play and show you where we were at last thing. So as you can hear, got some nice background music going. Also got weapons going. We have the zombie dying. Well, yeah, it does eventually. Going to sort out the animation clip, but what I want to look at in this video is we'll sort the animation clip out another one, because I want to have a good old fiddle with that when I get a chance. Is I've set my clips to 0. So one of the things we're going to have is we're going to look at a pickup manager today. Another thing is we're going to add a score, so when we kill these zombies they die, and if we get a chance today I want to get it so that they randomly spawn in places. Not sure if that's going to happen, but it's worth looking at. So I'll stop it for a minute. Hopefully you could hear my voice in that, and the background music wasn't too loud. That's what I really hope. I've only got one zombie. So the first thing is, oh yeah, one other thing I'm going to do is just a quick fix for the zombie movement. So I'm going to show you on the zombie movement here. I'm going to show you a couple of little quick fixes I had. One of the things I'm encouraging you guys to do is to use other assets other than the one I've given you. Now when you're going to go to something called Miximo and you download a walk animation, one of the things is they will tend to walk in place and they'll not move forward. So the animation sequence doesn't enable them to actually move forward, whereas the zombie one does, that I've got. So I'm going to sort of assume that walking in place, and you're going to be using other assets rather than the ones I give you. So I've made a few minor changes. First of all, is you notice this line here that says private void speed. It's a bit similar to the player one. Can you notice that says free? For the player, you have exactly the same variable, but it's 5. I think, generally speaking, it's a good idea for the player to be faster than the zombie, for fairly obvious reasons. So I've got the player going at 5 and the zombie going at 3. So that's the first thing, is we have this variable called speed that we set to 3, and it's slower than the player, which is 5. Now you can adjust that as you feel fit. The next thing you want to do is very simple extra bit of code, is these 2 lines here I've added. So the walk animation with this particular zombie asset that I've got highlighted here, there is some walking that it does do. So bear in mind that I'm using something that already walks, but if you walk in, if it's just doing the walk animation, you might want it to increase that number so that it actually glides across the ground better, but just bear that in mind. There's these 2 extra lines. One is this, is float step. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the zombies speed to work in the real time, which is why we have this time.delta time. That makes it work within real time. If we don't do that, it won't be in real time, and it just won't feel right. So that's why we have this here. Now notice that I'm setting this up every time because time changes. Now this you might want to comment out, because you might want, basically what you can see what's happening here is this will get larger. This thing, zombies will get gradually faster through the game. It's just an observation. You might want to comment, this out and just have it just going on speed and then changing this speed value here. That's one thing to consider, because this actually makes the game gradually harder. Second thing is, this is the line that does it. We have a translation position here, and we're having what's known as this move towards. It's going to move from the position it's at to the player position in this step, which we've defined here. So it will gradually move towards the player. All it is, so there's 3 lines of code extra. So if you're using Miximo assets, this will work beautifully with you. So I'm going to press play, and I'm just going to show you them walking after me. He's quite. Can you see how he glides across the floor initially before the walk animation kicks in? But once the walk animation, it looks quite good. just kill him off. I've only got one zombie here. Okay, so as you can see, that walk animation does work quite effectively, and you can actually edit that to your heart's content with those 3 lines. So that's a very simple little code change that I'm sort of announcing now, and that's to do with the zombie movement, and that's if you're using Mixamo assets, you'll find that particularly useful. For those that have been using that, I've noticed that in some of the comments from some of the people is if I'm using other assets, they just tend to work on the spot. Well, this will overcome that one problem. So that's, you could say, a fairly big bug fix. Now the next one is one thing I want to point out while we're up in here, while I've got this code open, sorry, in player one, I've got the clips set at 0 because I want you to find clips. So we're going to add more clips on this landscape. Now I've got in here, which I'll make available through the link provided to this YouTube, some more assets. But one of the things, if I go into assets here, imports, when made, I've got a ammo crate, and I'm just going to zoom in. I've just dragged and dropped it. It looks a bit like that, and you just want it on the landscape like that. Now one of the things is you can do a bit of simple animation where it's just like rotating around. So I want a really simple little animation here for that. I'm just going to click on the animation tab, click create. Oh, not going to take too long. I'm going to put it in the right place. Let's go into my zombies. Let's go into my game animations. I'm going to call it ammo. So there. And now what I'm going to do is just going to quick circular thing, a really simple little animation sequence on this. I'm going to get it rotating. I've done a little video on this already, so I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm going to click play, and I'm going to move it to the last frame, which will be there, and I'm going to rotate it to where I want it. So I'm going to get it to rotate 360 degrees, which should be about there, and stop. Now if I press play, oh, it is a funny little funky. I don't mind that, to be honest. It's not quite what I want it to do. It's done a move and it's done a thing, so it's got a little funny little wobble going on. I don't mind that too much. It's only a little play about anyway. So now for the ammo crate, you should have, if I press play, some sort of, there you are. Can you see there's me ammo? I don't mind that. That's not too bad. So I'm just going to make it, one thing I will do is make it a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to scale it a little bit, make it just, it's basically so it's easy to walk into, really. Because we are going to collect this. Oops. It's a bit overreacting, my mouse, about a little bit. I'm finding it jerking a bit. I'm just going to make it there. Ammo crate. Why just move the water about here? No, I've not touched the water. I thought I'd move some water about. Let's have a look. It's not too bad. It's like a funny little snail going around. Next thing we want to add to this ammo crate is, I always like to tag things. I want to give this a tag of, I want to call it ammo. Always, just a habit I've got into of tagging everything. It just makes things so much easier. Avoids potential errors. You don't necessarily have to do this. This is just my habit. You could say something, a habit I've got into that's a good habit. Now that, I think I still need to make it a bit bigger. And I made that really big now. It's a big ammo crate now. It's funny movement. I don't mind it. It's just a bit odd. Oh, what I could do is I'll get rid of the position thing, so it just does a rotation now. So it should just rotate. Yeah, it's doing a Still doing an odd rotation. Never mind. I can't be bothered to fiddle with it. But there it is. We've got an ammo crate. Next thing we're going to add to that is we're going to add a box glider. So I'm going to type in box glider. And that is, and I want to change the collision thing, and I want to make it so it's just this. I want to make it the same size as the box. See, that box is huge. We want to make it so that it's narrower, so it's actually a little bit of a challenge to try to get it, because this is what's going to do it. Make it so it's a bit narrower. You want it a little bit bigger than the object, but this is, oh, it's got to be also lined up. Would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Center not. Pay attention to that. Why is that not fully lined up? I don't know. I find that's a very strange thing. It's out of sync. The box glider is centered up. It's the mesh that's not lined up with the actual ammo crate. There's a disconnect. You can, oh yeah. Is it because this is the wrong way around? I'm going to just adjust this, the center, so that it's actually lines up properly. Oh, there we go. So I'm just adjusting this so it's, see what I'm doing? I'm just going to adjust this so it's in the right place, because I want it so that it fits on top of it. I want it. There you go. This is what we want. We want that box glider so it's actually on it. So it's going to, I'm just changing the different perspectives. Can you see I'm just clicking on this here? It just helps me edit it. So I make it really quite snug fit. It takes longer than you think doing things like this, guys. And then Z, just lining it up. Y, oh, that's all right. That does me. And then click. Oh yeah. So we've got a box glider. Now is the right place. Oh, we've got a box glider. So that's the first thing, is to set this ammo crate with a box glider on proper. So what we want to do is we want to move our character over that, and when it does that, what happens is the player gets more ammo and that vanishes. So that's the first thing is going to happen. So let's just quickly save this. I'll show you the steps of it. So first thing is we're going to need a function in the player. So let's open up the player script here. We're going to need a function in here. I'm just moving this across here because this is like my reference code. In here we're going to need a function called fill ammo or something like that. So I'm just going to make it up now. So it's going to be a public because the other, it needs to be accessed outside public space. I'm going to call it void fill ammo. Okay. And that's going to, when this is called, what's going to happen is we're going to increase our ammo. Now at the top here we have available to do with ammo. I'm just trying to remember what it's called. It's called current ammo. No, it's clips. It's not fill ammo, it's fill clips. Actually, so I'm going to change the name of it, is add clip. In fact, I'm going to call it add clip. I'm going to call it add clip because that's what it actually is. It's not to do with the ammo, it's to do with the clips. I'm going to call it add clip. So when this is called, I'm going to put a semicolon there. it just increases this. So that's going to be called oh, it doesn't like lowercase there. Save it. Add clip. So I'm having a little bit of issues with that. I'm going to call it lowercase clip. I don't think it should make any difference there. Not exactly what it's showing. I'll leave it for now. I can't imagine it's going to not be a problem there. So next thing is this crate here. We're going to add some code for that. So let's go to our project. Oops. Find the right place. My game code. We're going to create some new code here. It'll be C# obviously, and I'm going to rename this to ammo. I want to call it ammo. You double click it. So we're going to have an ammo. So what's going to happen in this particular thing here? Right. Well, we don't need the void and we don't need the update. So we'll get rid of them. What's going to happen is it's going to, when we click on this object here, when it hits this box collider, it's going to, we need to tick this. When that's triggered, in other words, the player triggers it, then we need to put some sort of code within here to show that it's been triggered. So what we use is this command called void, and it's called on trigger. Trigger enter. So in other words, save that. You should start to. Don't know why I've got a squiggle. Oh, it's just I've got a squiggle there. Yes, give it a nice little thing there. So we're using this thing called void on trigger enter. So in other words, what I'm going to, can you see over here? Let me just highlight the ammo crate, and he was already hammered. In the box glider, oops, on the box glider, we have something called is triggered. That would, if that is triggered, it automatically calls this routine. I'm going to be attaching this script to here. So this here is linked when it's triggered here. You tick that. That happens. So in here, what's going to happen? First of all, we need to see what is triggering. If it's a zombie, for example, we don't give the zombie extra trigger. It's only for the player. So what we need to do is do an if statement. And we use tags a lot. So I'm just going to check. Oh, hang on. One thing I need to do is I've got to pass in here what's triggering. So we have the collider. With it, collider. And it's going to be other. So whatever it is, the collider gets passed into this variable called other. So we need to say if the other dot tag equals, oops, not yag, tag is the player. We don't just do one equals, we always do two equals. And player, I think I've got player as capital P, but I should check shortly. Player. So if it's the player, then we're going to do something. Well, what we're going to do is specifically is we're going to refill the player. So we need to, first of all, we need to say is the player. So we're going to use, I'm going to actually show you this. So to access the player object, we go player. Actually, I've got its player controller, haven't I? Mine is called player controller. That is the script I've got, player controller. Some people, can you see here at the bottom it says player controller? There is player controller. So I've tapped in, I want to activate that script. That script is also linked, that's called a class actually. That is linked to the player. So it's player controller. Right, that's what I want to run. That's the code because that is where player controller, I'll show you. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for you. Player controller there, we want to access that within player controller. is a function that I wrote just earlier called add clip. So we want to activate add clip. I might as well just copy and paste that. So player controller, and we're going to be using that in a second. We're going to be using add clip. But player controller, and it's going to be attached to player. Now that is the player, there is the object player. Can you see? Player, there's the name. So player controller within player, and we could put equals other, because that's what is there, other, dot, get component, and it's going to be in brackets. What we're going to get the component, well, within player, the component we want to get hold of is player controller. So player controller there, and there you go. So we here I've got a temporary variable called player dot play add clip. So let me just explain that in simple. So the class is player controller. That's the code we've got written within the player object. So it's a temporary, sorry, I'm calling it player. I could call this Fred for all I care. But player controller is the script I'm doing, and I'm creating a temporary variable called player, which also happens to be the same as that player there. We're getting it from other, which is actually the object player that's passed in. We're getting a component of player controller. So this temporary variable is basically the same as the script player controller, and basically we want to activate the play add clip mechanism within there to increase the ammo count. Now I know I sort of scrambled eggs that explanation a bit, but basically we are activating this script called add clips within player controller. That's what that means in simple English. But if we had multiple players, it would only access the specific person that actually activated a multiplayer game. Only the person that would pick it up would get it. So it's not every single player. It's only the specific one that collides. So that's good. So now it adds a clip, so it increases the ammo count. But one thing we've got to do immediately is if we keep that running, if we leave that there as it is, it will constantly go, so the player can keep going over and reliving it, recollecting. The point is we want this object to self-destruct, this ammo crate to self-destruct once the player walks after it. So we're going to add a little bit more. And the thing that we add afterwards is we have this code. I'm just going to copy and paste it. Destroy this game logic. So it just destroys the actual ammo crate. Now one thing I've got to bear in mind is it's going to destroy this object, and I've just spent a long time creating it up, so I need to get a backup of this. So what I'm going to do is in my game, in assets, in my game, let's come back here, my game, in prefabs, I've got a folder called prefabs. I'm going to get ammo crate and I'm going to drag it down here. It creates what's known as a prefab. It stores it there, so when this goes, it'll go back. So if I press play now, now notice I've got no clips. Go over there. I've still got no clips. It's not working. Oh, you know why? You know why? Because here I've not attached the script to it, have I? Let's clear all this down. I've just created a beautiful script, but I've not actually added any code to it. So I want to get the what is it, ammo, and add it to ammo crate. So I need to add it to there. So now we're adding it there. Let's press play again. So ammo's not 1, and it's gone. And you notice it's vanished off here for hierarchy. Press play, it will return actually, because this play, everything's temporary goes. So that prefab thing, it's always a good idea to have a prefab with it. So what I can do is, because I've got it in prefabs, I'm going to add another ammo crate here, another ammo crate there. So I've got loads of ammo. all over the place now. I'm going to shoot the ground. Oh, I've got no clips left. Pick up another one, reload. I've got more. Push. And I'll get this guy to chase me. He slides a bit, but he does eventually do the walk animation. I've got, oh, some more ammo. Let's have that. I've seen the ground too much for me to collect. Go and die, thank you. It's because it's underground, that one. Yeah, let's move him up a bit. That was a good idea to make sure you got your crates in the right place. Can't see what I'm doing. There we are. There we are. It was underground. I wasn't touching the box glider as I was walking past it. So there we are. We now have a destroyable collectible object, and I think I'm going to leave that for now. Oh yeah, we're going to have Scar. One more thing. Scar, really easy to do. Right, next thing. So all orders code up again. So in the player controller here, we need, do we have a Scar variable? No, we do not. In the HUD variable, we don't have it either. So let's put in the player, we need the HUD is just for displaying stuff. We don't put much in there. We want to create another variable here. Let's put it here. So private int Scar. Now, there is a built-in variable called Scar, and I want to make sure yeah, it is. Scar is one of these variables that's built in, so I'm just going to call it, I'm going to call it pscar. I'm going to be careful about Scar. I think it's one of these that's built in. I'm not sure. I'm just going to, anyway, I've called it pscar just to be on the safe side. I've got this feeling in my blood that Scar is a built-in variable and I have to be careful with it. So I've created a variable called Scar. Now we need to display it on the HUD. So in the HUD, first of all, let's go to the HUD and let's add Scar. So I'm going to put like a Scar up here. Oops. Oh, I'm going to have to adjust all this. I think it's because I've got it on my laptop as well as the screen resolutions on my laptop. It's a little bit different. But anyway, nevertheless, I shall move this up a bit. I'm just going to quickly fiddle with this a little bit, make it a little bit tidier, because I don't like it not being tidy. Bullets, clips, it says 5, but it's actually going to be 0. Don't matter too much. Now I'm going to add another variable here. I'm just going to reduce the height a bit, make it a bit longer. Yeah. Scar. So in the HUD, I'm going to create a UI. I'm going to create some text. I'm going to slide it up here. Find a way to put it really. I might slab it under the name there. I'm going to call it Scar. Best fit. Just going to slide that up a bit. I'm not making a particularly good name of this, but I'm not really that interested too much in the visuals for myself. Just as long as this needs to align with that a bit better. There, it's better. It's lined up now. To be honest, this all needs to be over here a bit. I'm I'm going to move this to the center, right into the center. See, that's the center line there. There. Move that up there. Let's have a look at that. Says I say I'm not bothered, then I start faffing about. I'm not that sure that that works, but let's just leave it as it is for now. So I've got something called scar. Oh yeah, let's rename that to scar. Right. So now in the UI script, the HUD script, we need to create another void. I'm just going to literally copy and paste one of these, but we need to link to it first, obviously. So I'm just going to copy and paste this and then rename things. We're going to have a text called scar. Text shows scar. Very obvious. So scar text there, and then we need to create a little variable, little void here to actually update it. Show, I'm going to call it update scar, and it's going to have a variable, call it tscar, so the temporary scar variable, and it's going to be scar text. I'll just make sure I copy it right, so I'll just actually copy and paste it there. Dot text equals, write the word scar in there, will be a good idea, and it's going to be plus, and then it's going to be tscar, but tscar is a integer, so we need to what's known as toString it. That converts it to a string to display on the screen. That's simple as that, really. So now we call this function called update scar. So that update scar is going to get called by the player controller as the zombies, well, actually by the zombie, because it's the zombie that dies, the player kills it, and that's what updates the score, not the player. Hang on a minute. I'm going to have to think about this. So what calls it then? So the scars was there, the player controller, let's have a look. The player just shoots the zombie when it dies. Have a think about this. So the zombie dies, it decides it's dead. Now, does it have a link to the player? It does actually have a player. I'm going to create in here a little function called zombie dies, so the player knows the zombies died. Then it can update the score and increase its own score and its own. I want the player to have the score, which is called P score. So I'm going to have a little function in here that increases the score. So I'm going to create a little function here, and what happens in here, I'll explain it. We have public void update score. Right, so in here we're going to have the P score, and we're going to plus equals, so in other words, we're going to increase it, I don't know, by 10. Every time you kill a zombie you get 10 points. You can change it to whatever you want. Let's make it 100. 100 per kill, because we're going to have lots of zombies appearing eventually. And then we need to update the does it have a link to the HUD? It does actually have the HUD. There's the HUD. So it's HUD there. So we need to update it to the HUD. So we go HUD dot, and we're going to tell it, if you scroll through it, it's got all the things in. What did I call it in HUD? I can't remember. I called it update score. Very obvious, isn't it? So if I type in up there, can you see it's highlighted? To be honest, update score, P score. So there you are. Programming is simplicity itself if you follow a few golden rules. Spelling mistakes, because it writes it for you. I just think sometimes that C# does it all for you. So I want to update the score. I want to update it by 100, and I want to put it to the HUD. But the zombie is going to be the one that calls the score. And the zombie can only tell it when it dies, so we need to find the death function, which is zombie dies here. Now, does it have a link to the player? Indeed it does. It has PC. So I can go here, PC dot, and I want to update the score. Update score. Now, player controller, it doesn't accept any parameters, it just literally goes there. There you go. So let's go through this. The zombie dies, it calls the player in the player controller update score. Update score increases the score by 100 and passes it to the HUD. In the HUD we have a function called update scores and it just updates it to the screen. Bish bash bosh. 3 functions all interlinked in C# in less than 2 minutes. Let's press 5. I've got no score. Is it going to die? It's not dying properly, which doesn't really help. It's having a little bit of a hiccup, isn't it? Oh dear, something's not right here. But it's not calling update score. Zombie, you're dead. You're updating the score. Dying swan. Should die after 3 seconds. Give me a second just to figure this out. I'm just going to pause this. Right, I fixed it. It was quite simple really. On the HUD, I hadn't added the score, so it was never updating the score, and it was sort of interrupting the zombie dying. So let's press play. I'll show you what it is. Just shooting it. There, score goes up to 100 and the zombie dies. The death animation I need to work on, as I keep saying, but basically, can you see here, score text there is linked to the score. Just dragged and dropped it there. So anyway, I'll stop pressing play now. This is Teacher Wayne. I hope you enjoyed this little video. I covered here quite a few things. Better walking for the zombie, destructible sort of assets. I showed ammo, but you could equally have it so that you could have a health thing there that you can pick up. You can have additional health. Also so that you can have a score as well. I mean, one thing you can add extra, just a little thing I just want to add just to the end of this video as a little thing, is what you want to do is, can you see I've got the zombie here, I've added it to I've dragged it down to prefabs, and what you want to do, in fact I'll just delete it from the prefab and I'm going to add more here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some more as mates arrive. And let's press play and see what happens. Should just work, he says. That one dies, but the others don't. Oh, they're not linked, are they? Let's have a look. These are not. Let's have a look. Where are they? Let's have a look at the zombie. The original zombie has scripts. I'll leave it for now. Right, okay, I think I know what it is now. I've just done a further bit of edit. In the actual zombie, not the zombie, in the player controller, this line here has the word name in it. That's what I originally had it, and I've just changed it so it's a tag. Because we don't want the name, we want the tag of zombie, because the zombies, the names are all different, as you can see here. Let me scroll up to the top. The names, we've got zombie 2, we've got zombie 1, and we got zombie, but the tags are all the same, which is why tags are really important. So I've just changed this line here, line 112 in player controller, to where it says zombie, and then that will fix that final thing. Let me just prove it and press play. So I've got 3 zombies now. I'm just going to go and pick up this ammo clip. There we are. And I'm going to shoot them all one by one. There's one died, 100 points. Another one died, another 100 points. Another one died, 300 points. There you go. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. This is Teacher Wayne. I hope you enjoy my video series. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be adding more video content in the future. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.